Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of Believe in San Diego Baseball. Back with you, myself, Alex Miniak, the voice of Petco Park, alongside the three-time All-Star, Heath Bell. We're back, baby. And there's been a lot going on in the World Series. Kind of went sideways a little bit, and now there's a definitive lead thing going on. I like it. We will get to that in a minute. We've got some managerial updates, and we're going to dive into my personal card collection. Now, it's not much of one. In fact, it's loaded with junk wax Padres cards, and we'll pick a couple out maybe and talk about them in a new series we'll call Junk Wax Gems, and that's coming up here on Believe in San Diego Baseball. Heath, it's a busy week around San Diego. I was up recording parts for MLB The Show today, but it's also Breeders' Cup weekend here in San Diego, so made a stop by Del Mar on my way home to check out the ponies. By the way, Thursday is a great day to go. You can get in for $7 on the app, and you can just sit around and take in the races. It was a beautiful day. It was the 80s, not a cloud in the sky. It was nice.
Yeah, to watch the horses races are kind of fun, even if you're not a really race kind of guy. It's just a good atmosphere. Del Mar, you really can't go wrong.
No. And you know what? And I didn't go up there. I worked Breeders' Cup in 21, but I didn't go to Del Mar last season. So far this season, I've been to 3 races. So I got a chance to go up there. I just, like you said, atmosphere. I love it. I'm not a huge bettor. I don't know what I'm doing. I have the book and I swap my leg like I'm really rooting something on, and I haven't put a dime down.
You should pick a horse. Don't put any money on. Just pick a horse just mark it off on your book.
Yeah.
And see if you're any good.
Yeah. I think as long as you look the part, I think it's all good. Like when I lived up in New Hampshire, I used to go to the ski mountains. I had all my gear on, right? And I carried a snowboard. I never left the lodge, but damn, I looked good.
Fake it until you make it.
That's right. No, just fake it and make it. I don't even have to till. I was just faking it 110%. So, World Series, no faking it here. That's for sure. Blue Jays, Dodgers. Monday night, we were recording the show, and this game was just getting started. Little did we know. There's no other way to go over this game besides going through the game by the numbers, all right? So let's do some math here. 18 innings, tied a World Series record. 6 hours, 39 minutes was the time of game. 609 total pitches thrown, 130 combined at-bats, a World Series record, 44 players used by both teams, 19 of them were pitchers, 10 of those pitchers were Dodgers pitchers. That was a World Series record. In fact, at one point, they were considering having Yamamoto come in after he just pitched the game before. So it was desperate times calling for desperate measures. Instead, they had Will Climb, a guy, I can't recall him being on the roster before this. He threw 72 pitches on his own and, held it together for the longest time. Ohtani reached
in the parking lot earlier that day.
I think they did. Well, if you can get 72 pitches out of a guy hawking T-shirts out in the parking lot, that's not a bad deal. Ohtani reached base 9 times, postseason record. And then it was Freddie Freeman, after all of this, hitting his 3rd career postseason walk-off. Dodgers win 6-5. Now, I stayed up for this. Glutton for punishment. Did you stay up for this whole thing?
I got to the 13th, maybe 14th inning. 13th inning, I saw it. 14th inning, I want to say I heard it. And then I woke up to see who won.
Yeah. We got done recording the show, and I went out there, and I saw it go extra innings. And my wife's like, when are you coming to bed? And I said, I'll come to bed when the game is done. I go into the bedroom in the 18th after the game was done. I said, Dodgers win. And she's like, "Rrr." And then so I feel like maybe I wasted my time a little bit, but you know what? That's the way this series has gone. Like, it's so evenly matched that we're getting down to fine details, especially in that game.
Really quick to go back to that. My whole family, I think, was in bed by the 10th or the 12th inning. They were like,
Well,
what?
you have a time difference, so
I
you're
know.
allowed.
Also, I wanted to say, maybe your wife kind of wanted you to come to bed.
Are you saying I didn't take a hint? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, because my wife asked me once and then texted me once, and I'm like, I'm going to try to make it through the game. And then when I went to bed, she was out.
Well, Dodgers won that one 6-5. Disappointing, I know, for us who were rooting for the Blue Jays. Tuesday night, Game 4. You know, I didn't really know what to expect. When you have a game and you go through 44 players and you go through all of your pitchers, I don't know who has the edge going into the next night's game, and I don't know how you battle back from that. But the Blue Jays found a way. The Dodgers did strike first on Kike Hernandez's sac fly in the bottom of the second. That was off of starter Shane Bieber. 1-0, bottom of the second. Toronto answers right back. Vladdy, 2-run home run off Ohtani. 2-1 Toronto. Vlad has now had, at this point, 7 home runs this October, passing Joe Carter and Jose Bautista for the most postseason home runs in Toronto history. And then the rest of the game was just, Andres Gimenez, top 7, RBI. Ty France, Aztec for life, top 7, RBI. Bo Bichette, top 7, RBI. Addison Barger, top 7, RBI. Blue Jays win 6-2. So they found a way. They found a way. They chipped away, and they got the W.
The funny thing is, I remember with the Padres, we played the Diamondbacks. I think a 22-inning game where we ended up winning. And they went on and won the next 10, and I think we lost the next 5. So they had actually long travel day, and we had a short one. So, yeah, I always think for some odd reason, the teams that lose those long games, the next day they show up with a vengeance, and they usually win.
I thought, I was thinking it'd be kind of the opposite, right? You get worn down. Your confidence is high. You're like, we're going to win this thing. And it starts going marathons. And then you don't have a choice. You have to win this thing. You are so invested at this point. You have to win this thing. And if you don't, it's disheartening. And I thought LA had the motivation going into that game.
Yeah, I think you're like, but you're still in that mode. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Where the winning team is like, whew, we're done. It's over. We got it. They're excited and it's over, where the other team's like, oh man, let's keep playing. I want to, because trust me, if it goes 15 innings, everybody feels like horrible because everybody's not hitting the ball.
Yeah. And that's what we saw. Yeah.
The only people are really doing well are the pitchers, not the offense. So, yeah.
Would you rather see these long inning slogs, or would you like to see the ghost runner in the postseason as well?
No, I personally like to see these games because you got to earn it. You got to get on. You got to get guys over. It's real baseball because, during the regular season, the ghost runner at second doesn't go against the pitchers. So some pitchers are out there and like, well, if he scores, it's not a big deal. It's not against me. And in the postseason, it really does matter. It's against you. It's everything, where I almost feel like it's too easy. Maybe they just bunt and then they got 2 chances to get a hit. Where during this postseason, you got to get on. You can't just hit 2 sac flies and somebody scores. Hit 2 fly balls, where you got to actually earn it. So I like it how it is right now. I like the ghost runner during the season. I don't like the ghost runner in the playoffs.
I don't think I'd be opposed to it maybe in the first 2 rounds, but when you get to the best of 7, it's supposed to be a grind. It's supposed to take a long time. It's supposed to be difficult, and you're supposed to earn it, like you said.
I was like, Kike Hernandez has pitched numerous times for the Dodgers. And this was only in the 12th, 13th. I was like, wonder if they're going to go with a position player.
Yeah.
Like that would have been hilarious if both teams had position players out there. Just
I don't know. Does that rule apply? You're supposed to have 7 or 8 runs before you can put a position player in to pitch, either down or up.
I think it's I think in the playoffs, in the regular season, yes, but I think in the playoffs, if that's your only guy, that's your only guy.
We need a Mike Pereira of baseball on this show to help us explain some of these rules sometimes, because I don't know.
Or if you get to the 20th inning, both managers are pitching.
Yeah, underhand.
Yeah.
Game 5, Blake Snell on the hill for Los Angeles. Davis Schneider, leadoff home run. Next at bat, Vladdy Guerrero, yet another home run. This was the first time in World Series history that a team has hit back-to-back homers to lead off a game. Bottom of the third, Kike gets one back for the Dodgers, 2-1 Toronto. Then top of the fourth, none other than World Series hero Ernie Clements gets Dalton Varsho home after he hit a triple, 3-1 Toronto. The Jays continue to tack on. The final is 6-1 Toronto. What I think is most cool about this game is Trey Savage for Toronto. He's the first pitcher to strike out at least 12 in a World Series game without issuing a walk. And when you think about it, 5 months ago, this dude was in low A ball. The first pitcher who started a game in low A, high A, double A in New Hampshire, where I came from, triple A, and the World Series in the same season. That's ridiculous.
Well, I just think it shows the Toronto Blue Jays. They saw a good talent. He was a great pitcher. They needed him. And instead of going with the veteran guys, they put two of their good pitchers in the bullpen. And Savage he was a better pitcher. He's kind of hot. Hey, let's go with him. He's doing really well. I know he's only been here for like a month or so, but let's go with him, man. And it's paying off. I mean, you could see Toronto's manager and players. They're one unit. They're one team. If they win, they do it together. If they lose, they do it together. And everybody's picking everybody up, and it's just not the superstars.
And that's what you need to win a World Series. Everybody needs some role players. Everybody needs some superstars. You need grinders.
You need
people
guys
to get it
just
done.
come up big out of nowhere.
Yeah, you need the clutch guys. We talked about the clutch gene. Yep. Ernie Clement seems to be wearing the clutch gene right now in this series.
Yeah.
Now, Friday's game, or tonight's game if you're listening to the podcast, Yamamoto versus Gausman. That game obviously was a pitching duel the last time these two faced off. And then in the game 7, should we get that far, it still says TBD, but I got to imagine that they're going to be throwing everybody at that point. So nobody is off limits in a World Series game 7.
Yeah, I do believe if it goes to game 7, I think Toronto has a little bit more edge because I think the Dodgers pitchers haven't really necessarily been there. I think Shohei will be the back end of the bullpen. The Dodgers don't really have a bullpen at all, unfortunately. And every starter will be out there. Yamamoto, he might pitch 2 days in a row. Who knows? But it's going to be tough. Toronto does really well at home. They hit really well. They're coming home with the lead. And, both teams, game 5, they wanted to win because then you only have to win 1 out of 2. So it's been an amazing series so far.
Because Yamamoto is going in game 6, and because they could throw their entire starting rotation into game 7, do the Dodgers have the advantage regardless of being on the road?
No, I personally think it's Toronto. I think Toronto will have the advantage if it goes game 7. I really do, because that offense, the thing is, Dodgers have been hit and miss, during this World Series. And they weren't really battle tested until they got to the World Series. So even the games that Toronto has lost, their offense is hit. Mm-hmm. They've hit the ball, or even when Yamamoto pitched a complete game, they were hitting the ball. They just weren't getting big hits. He was shutting them down when he needed to, but there was always guys on base.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. And like you said, and I said, we thought this was going 7. You were leaning Dodgers. Maybe you're leaning Blue Jays. I was leaning Blue Jays the whole time.
I was leaning a little bit Dodgers just because, they were there. But, I mean, it was like by a hair.
Yeah.
I think Toronto is that good. But, Toronto's never lost a World Series when they go. And I said that before. So.
That's true, too. Yeah.
And so the only reason I gave it to the Dodgers is because they've been there multiple times and they won it last year. So I didn't know if Toronto was going to be a little starstruck, but I knew they were a really good team, and I just had the Dodgers by a hair. But right now, gosh, I think Toronto has the edge. I really do. Even if they get butt whooped tomorrow, I think Toronto still has the edge.
Well, like you said, 2 to win it, 2 chances to win it.
Win 1, 2.
Well, we got some managerial updates. The San Diego Union Tribune reported the Padres were entering the final stages of a manager's search, and perhaps there may be a hire by the time this podcast debuts. So, the three names that I've heard are Pujols, Nick Hundley, back in the mix, and Ruben Niebla. Obviously, that one makes a lot of sense as well. Bob Nightingale of USA Today reported the Padres met with Pujols for a second interview for 9.5 hours. I don't think I've ever had a 9.5 hour meeting or job interview ever. That's
I think maybe it wasn't like they were sitting down for 9. I think they were walking around talking.
Interesting that Nick Hundley is still in the mix. I know, you and I had talked about Nick extensively on one of our prior episodes, that Nick took his name out of the mix for the Giants, but you said there still could be a shot with the Padres because San Diego's his home and his family would be around. And
see, here's the thing. I think Ruben would be a great manager because he knows the team. And I'm rooting for him because, if he does well, then it makes us pitchers have chances to manage. Traditionally, pitchers weren't good managers, but I think nowadays you really got to manage the starter and the bullpen. That's what managers do now, with all the other people helping out the lineups and all that stuff. Nick Hundley, he's a former catcher. I think he was very smart, always tried to help everybody out. So I think he's really knowledgeable, and I think he'll be a manager one day. My gut says it's going to be Albert because Manny Machado and Tatis are kind of our guys, and they're both from the Dominican. Albert's from the Dominican, but there's no manager experience, so I think it's going to take him half the season to kind of really settle in. But I think Tatis and Manny and the other players will really respect Albert because, he was one of the best game. Let's put it this way. Albert, I think, was better than anybody that's on our team now. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think they all have their advantages for sure, and I think they're all solid candidates. No doubt.
What does your gut say? Who do you think's going to take it? Just your gut feeling. If it's those three.
I think Albert Pujols, only because, like you said, he was an incredible player. There's a cultural relevance with the clubhouse, and I think he sells tickets. I'm not going to lie. It adds another star to that lineup and another Hall of Famer in that clubhouse. So that's my gut. But, I know nothing. I'm not at the ballpark.
Well, here's the other thing. It can be kind of like Pete Rose. Why don't we pitch hit him?
Yeah.
Who's going to pitch hit?
Player manager. Yeah, we haven't had a player manager in a while. I think we're overdue.
That might be Ohtani when he gets ready to retire. He seems like he can do everything.
Well, speaking of old players, I've got a stack of cards here. I've got my little banana pudding Western Metal container here filled up with a bunch of old Padre cards, and we're going to go through them. Actually, we're going to go through them all offseason. I'm going to pull our first Padres Junk Wax Gem here on Believe in San Diego Baseball. That is coming up next here on the program. Do want to remind you, make sure you tell your friends, tell them to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you find your quality podcasts. And of course, you can find bonus content and companion articles that go with our shows all online at our website, believeInSD.com, BLEAVINSD.com. And we're coming back, just a couple, on Believe in San Diego Baseball. Welcome back to Believe in San Diego Baseball, the podcast. My name is Alex Miniak. My partner here is Heath Bell. Heath is a big card collector. He said on last week's episode that you collected when you were a kid, and you collected when you were a player, and you're still collecting. So I think it's time we talk some cards. I collected as a kid as well during what was called the junk wax era, which was, mid-'80s. Yeah, that's a bigger collection than I got. Mid-'80s to mid-'90s or so. And a lot of these companies, they just printed up a ton of cards. And I know as a football card collector at that time, I got a Barry Sanders card, rookie. I got an Emmitt Smith, rookie. And I'm like, Dad, I'm going to be rich someday. And I think those cards were worth $5 at the time. And I believe if I looked them up today, they're still worth $5 today.
They might be. But the funny part is my dad, had like the Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle, and because I remember those cards, we used to put them in our bike spokes to make them sound like, motorcycles.
Yeah, I did that too with a clothespin.
Them back then, and we just did it to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, wonder if I just would have saved him.
Yeah, but you don't know at the time.
Yeah.
And it's all about condition too. But here I've got a ton of old Padres cards from that junk wax era. I'm going to pull one out today, and this one is a Don Russ 89 Gary Templeton card. Gary Templeton, shortstop for the Padres, played on a World Series team in 84, traded for Ozzie Smith. One team needed a defensive winner, one team needed a bat. Both played shortstop. Sort of worked out for both teams. I mean, Ozzie was one of my favorite players growing up, watching him do backflips on the carpet there at Busch Stadium.
Yeah.
And I've actually met Gary a couple times doing Padres alumni softball, so that's pretty cool. I mean, again, I'm like collecting cards and meeting dudes that I used to collect cards from when I was a kid. So
I know I collect cards, and then I got to pitch against them.
Well, that's even more meta. That one.
But I will say, like, let's just say, we'll find out how much Gary Templeton's card worth now, and we should get him to sign it.
Yeah, we should. I've got a few of these actually.
Maybe we can add like $1 or 50 cents to the card.
Okay, it looks like we're going to go to this website called Sports Card Pro because it's the first one that came up on Google. And a Gary Templeton 1989 Don Russ. Okay, we're rich, buddy. $1.42, which is actually for a junk wax card. I mean, I've got a few of them sitting here just in this little Western metal container. That's actually pretty good.
It's funny. That's not even a gallon of gas.
Yeah, well, back then.
I remember back then the common cards were worth 5 or 10 cents. So it's gone up.
It's gone up. I mean, it's not going to be a grade 9 or a PSA 10, but you know what? The corners are actually pretty good on this card.
We got to put it in a case.
I got to put it in a case. You know what? If we collect enough of these Gary Templeton cards, you and I, my friend, could get a whole $20-some. That'd be, you know what? That's some revenue for the show.
Hey, we're going to have some burritos and Crohn's on beer.
Yeah, I was a little late to recording today because the burrito line was out the door. But, as soon as we're done recording.
I missed a good burrito.
Yeah, it's currently in the microwave, staying warm for me. I found a new burrito. This is totally off topic, but I feel like I should mention this. I found a new burrito that I like. It's a chili verde burrito, and they have it at my taco shop down the street. And it's basically the chili verde dish, the pork sauteed in the sauce, the verde sauce, and it has the rice and the onions and stuff in the burrito. And it's just, now I can't get anything else when I go up there. I used to be a California burrito guy, and now I can't switch back. I'm
going to have to try it next time I'm in San Diego because I like California burrito.
Well, my mom thinks, by the way, that we record this in the same room. Like, you come to my house and record it. So maybe we will do one where you do come to the house, and then we will have burritos here on the show. How about that?
Yeah, we'll totally do that.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to make plans for that here over the weekend while we're watching the final 2 games of the World Series, or final game of the World Series. We shall see, but it'll be an interesting weekend in Toronto, and we'll be here next week to break it on down. Any last words, Heath, before we wrap this up?
Just hopefully AJ Preller and the Seidler family pick a good manager so the Padres can be in the World Series next year, and we can be talking about them.
I would love that, and I feel like we're going to have a good, solid foundation anyway it turns out. And I look forward to talking about it a little bit more, hopefully, next week. So, for the 3-time All-Star Heath Bell, my name is Alex Miniak, and we will catch you next time on Believe in San Diego Baseball.
See you later.